All right, we're recording. Hey guys. This is Darah, and I am a Emerald Beachbody coach, lifetime Emerald Beachbody coach. And I was asked by Allison, our upline, to talk about the importance of treating your business like a business and setting business hours and sticking to them. I'm also going to be talking about time management tricks and tips. A little more about myself. In the health, I'm already in the health and wellness industry, I guess. I work at a hospital. I'm part-time now in the cardiac rehab department. So it's basically like exercise therapy. So the people there, they're coming to a gym, like that's the setting in which I work. So I'm kind of a personal trainer for people with heart conditions. So we're monitoring them, their vital signs while they're exercising. I design programs for them. We go over general nutrition education and things like that. So I really do enjoy what I do. But I kind of happened upon Beachbody coaching through a friend of a friend, and I thought that it would be really cool to kind of get more into helping people when they're not as sick. I'm used to helping people, when they've got a lot of stuff going on. They've had an issue with their heart. A lot of times they're older. And so I've always felt like I could make more of an impact on people if I were to impact them earlier in life, especially families in particular women. I have a heart to help women. So when I was introduced to the Beachbody opportunity, I was all over it because it gave me that chance to do the thing that I thought I would have to go back to school to do. So that's basically my background. I've been doing Beachbody coaching since last year, since March of last year. Or no, I actually signed up at the end of February, but my training started officially March of last year. And when I first started my business, I was working full time and kind of trying to do my business on the side, which was pretty tough because I have 3 kids and a very long commute. So towards the end of last year in October, I decided to step away from my job a little bit by working part-time to try to be able to do more with the Beachbody business, but also to be more available to my kids. So I started off my business kind of, I guess, the way most people would, just trying to do it on the side as a way to try to make some extra income and try to do something that I was passionate about and that I loved. And so I think I've kind of fell into a rhythm with that. But then recently with my change at work, I've had to kind of reintroduce myself to this whole business opportunity. So I've had a lot of successes. I've had a lot of failures. So I think I'll be able to really share my experiences through trial and error. A lot of what I'll have to share is, stuff that I actually did wrong and learned the right thing to do. And right now I'm just kind of trying to build myself back up in terms of my business and just building a team and really getting this thing off the ground. So it's been challenging, but definitely something I wouldn't trade for the world. So I'm just going to get right into, I'm sorry, Dorian, you want to introduce yourself too? I'm about to get all into my stuff.
Yes. Okay, I am Dorian, and Darah and I have been placed together to partner in talking about this topic, Power Hour and setting business hours, as you heard Darah just say. So I just wanted to introduce myself. I am a lifetime Emerald Beachbody coach. I've been coaching for a little over 2.5 years, so since July of 2013. Initially when I got started, it was basically like a hobby type thing. So I really didn't start the actual business building part of the business until January of last year. So I kind of consider that my start date, since that's when I really started business building. I got into Beachbody from a friend of mine from college. She had been posting about her journey, and then she started posting about Beachbody. So what I did was I contacted her because I was having issues with getting off my post-pregnancy weight. So I had a pregnancy pouch, and people started thinking I was pregnant again. I wasn't. Fine. So I was like, okay, it's time for me to do something about it. So I started my journey with T25 and Shakeology, and the rest is history. Like, I lost all of my weight from my pregnancy and the pouch, and I'm back where I wanted to be. And so now I'm just passionate about helping people reach their goal as well, just like I did. So that's what I have to say. Sarah?
Cool. Awesome. So I'm going to jump right in to the topics, and I'm going to be sharing. So the first, I'm going to be sharing on the importance of treating your business like a business and setting business hours and sticking to them. So just to kind of backtrack a little bit, like I said, when I first started coaching, I was working full time. And so I almost feel like the busier you are, the more structure you have to have by default. Otherwise, you really don't get anything done. And so a lot of my structure and my business hours were kind of like predetermined for me. Like, in other words, you only have free time on lunch and you only have free time after the kids go to bed. Like, that's really it. So you should probably work your businesses during those times. So the thing that was the most important to me when I first started was to make it dummy proof. So what I did was I would, at the beginning of the day, I would make a list of the things that I had to do. And then I would prioritize. I used to make a very long list, and I'll touch on that later, how I had to kind of like rethink that. But I used to make really long lists of things I had to do, and then I would kind of break it up into chunks. So when I was working full time, I did a lot of checking in, reading, like going to people's pages and liking and commenting on things, stuff like that. I would do that in the morning before I left for work. And then I would do a lot of like paperwork in terms of like figuring out the stuff that I wanted to post. If I had a challenge group running or a clean eating group running, that's when I would post in my challenge group. I would post on my personal page, and I would try to schedule posts as well. I would do that on my lunch break. And then sometimes if it was slow in the afternoon, I would try to maybe answer emails or like look up notifications, try to answer back when it got slower in the day towards the end of my day. And then really that was it. Like, I couldn't really do anything else to work on my business until after the kids went to sleep. So really the bulk of my activity was spent after the kids went to sleep. So I'm talking like 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night, because I also had to fit my workouts in at night. So for those of you who are, working a full-time business and trying to figure out, how to work your other business, you really want to fill in the gaps or the breaks in your day. So on your lunch break, which, I know for a lot of people, that's your sacred time, and it's good to get away and kind of decompress from your job, but that's really going to be prime time for you to do a power hour or a power 30 minutes, because you're not home. So you don't have, a husband or kids or anything else pulling on you. And that's kind of like prime time to get some stuff done. And then, like I said, when the kids went to sleep, I would do a lot of my, anything that I didn't get done during the day, I would do it at that time. So any checking in with my challenge group, anybody who kind of posted in the evening, I usually didn't, see those posts or comment on those posts until late at night. And then a lot of times I would post for the following day the night before. So in other words, if I had something I wanted to post in the group about, a dietary tip, working out, things like that, I would either write it out or I would post it, late at night. So most people wouldn't see it. It's almost like I'm posting it in the morning because most people didn't see it because everyone's in bed, except for me. So I would kind of do it that way. Also, I would, So also I would try to maximize my free time on the weekends. So again, when I was working full time, anything I couldn't get to during the weekday, I would try to do during the weekends. And it was usually more centered around planning. So even if I wasn't actually interacting with people or checking in with my group, which I would spend a lot of time planning what I planned to do the following week. Because I had a lot more free time. So now that I am, post changing shifts at my job, and now I'm part-time, I've had to kind of like recreate a schedule for myself. So a few things that I've had to learn the hard way is to commit to a list. And by commit to a list, I mean create a list. And I usually try to keep it to 3 because even though I'm home more, I don't have more free time, which is a fallacy. I thought that when I was home more, I would have all this free time to work on my business. It's really not the case. You're having more mom time. So commit to the list. So I would create a list of 3 things, the most important things I needed to get done in the day. And I would do that the night before. Very rarely I would do it in the morning because usually there's a child that's awake or needs something. So I would try to do it the night before. So I would write a list. And then no matter what happened in the day, I had to make sure that I did those 3 things. Now, if their child went to bed for a lot longer, took a longer nap than I expected, then I would try to do other things, but I would try to not get distracted by anything else that came up. Because a lot of times people email you, a lot of times people, post on your wall, or you might see something that another coach is doing. You're like, wow, I want to do that, or wow, I want to comment on that, or maybe I want to post a video like that. And I always had to tell myself, did you do the things on your list? And if the answer was no, I had to, table those things for another time. So committing to the list was something that was really helpful for me. Another thing is don't be a slave to notifications. So when I first started coaching, I was so excited about like what I was doing. And like, when I would post something, I would be waiting for people to respond. So anytime I heard my phone like ding or that little red circle with the number in it, I'm like, oh my God, I got a notification. So I would hurry up and run to the notification. So I found myself constantly checking notifications. So either it was a comment or somebody inboxed me. And at first it wasn't a big deal because I was so like pumped up and hyped about this new opportunity. Everything was fresh and new. And so I didn't mind constantly going to my phone to check on a notification. But I had to learn the hard way that 9 times out of 10, if there's a notification, it's not something that's really urgent. A lot of times people just want information. Sometimes they're just commenting on what they saw. Even sometimes if they're interested in a program, they're not necessarily ready to purchase the program like right then and there. So I had to kind of like stop being a slave to a notification and not treating each like red dot that popped up on my phone as like, I need to stop what I'm doing and attend to that right this minute. Because after a while, and for those of you who have children or who have a husband, know that it can be very exhausting to constantly be diverting your attention and your focus from one thing to the next. And then you look up at the end of the day and you haven't gotten anything done. So I had to learn the hard way that I can't be a slave to notification. And even if it's a matter of like seeing what the first line in the sentence, because a lot of times if you look on your phone, you see a notification, you can kind of like read the first sentence of it. Sometimes I would just look at the sentence to see if it looked like something important. And then I would make a note to myself, return, Shelly's text message regarding purchasing a challenge pack. And then that might be on my list of priorities for the next day, or that might be on my list of priorities later on in the evening after I did the 3 things on my list. And so to piggyback off of not being a slave to notifications, I also had to understand that just because I had to not beat myself up about not attending to things as soon as they popped up. Like just because someone else is reaching out to me doesn't mean that I need to stop what I'm doing to immediately address that need, because it's all about striking the right balance. And, we're doing this. I can't lose sight of my why, which is my family. So I'm doing this for my family, but at the same time, I can't really neglect my family in order to do it. So creating that structure, committing to a list, not being a slave to notifications, and not feeling like I have to stop what I'm doing constantly to answer those things was very helpful in terms of reducing my stress level. And then I also had to realize that a lot of the work we do is just connecting, establishing relationships. You might comment on something somebody said and they might inbox you back. It may not even be about Beachbody. It might just be because they're responding to something nice that you said. So a lot of the work that we do is socializing and building and creating those relationships. So to let it happen naturally, and to not, beat yourself up if you don't get back to people right away. Because, when we're trying to close a deal, sometimes people don't get back to us right away. And, so you have to kind of like put things into perspective and to not allow yourself to stretch yourself too thin. Also, every interaction doesn't generate a sale. So I remember when I used to work in the restaurant business, I used to kind of like, I would always try to calculate my hourly rate. And so how many people came into my section, how much time they spent in my section, how much time I spent serving them, and then how much I actually got tipped was really the bottom line. Like at the end of the day, this is how much money I made in tips, and these are how many hours I worked. And then I would always figure out, man, I only made $5 an hour today. So you can kind of use the same type of logic in terms of your business. If you're constantly working on your business all throughout the day, you don't set any sort of boundaries for yourself, you're constantly answering notifications, but at the end of the day, none of it materializes into a sale. At the end of the week, you may have been working 10, 12-hour days and making $3.80 an hour. Like that's not effective. So, and I didn't want to think of it like that, because we're dealing with people, but then I had to say, like, this is a business and I have to treat it like a business. And so that means setting boundaries for myself. That means sometimes I can't stop what I'm doing to go back and forth with emails with a person if I have other things in my life that I have to attend to. So it's not a matter of not treating people like people. It's setting those boundaries up for yourself so that you can be successful and that you can actually make money so that you can achieve your goals and fulfill the purpose of why we're doing this in the first place. We can't lose sight of our why in the midst of working on our business. And finally, what's my last point? I can't find it. Oh yeah, it was set boundaries. I went ahead of myself. It was set boundaries. So in addition to what I just said about setting boundaries, is what I've noticed is that especially your warm market, people who know you and like you and already trust you, a lot of those people won't really end up being your best customers, believe it or not. And I was one that went into it wide-eyed, like, yes, like I know a lot of people who already know I'm interested in this. And once they see that I'm doing this, they're going to be so on board. Like, no, that's not the case. And so I had to learn to set boundaries with those people, not to say that I didn't want to work with them, but I had to realize that some people really want you to work for free. And they want to get all they can get from you in terms of information and motivation and inspiration without making that investment in their health. And that's okay, because everybody's, fitness and wellness is a very sensitive subject. And, if people aren't ready for it, you really have to be careful with how you deal with them and how you approach them. So you really have to set boundaries and place a value on yourself and what you have to offer. So if that means that, you have somebody in your warm market, somebody who's familiar with you, who wants, I gotta drop 15 pounds for my class reunion. Like, what should I do? Whereas before I would like really go in and really try to create a plan for that. I mean, I really tried to work with them, and then I realized like, they're not willing to make the investment. Like at the end of the day, when I was ready to say, okay, do you want to join the clean eating group? Sure. Okay. After the clean eating group. So that's 5 days. You saw benefits, you got results. Let's keep this thing going so we can meet our goals. Are you ready to purchase your challenge bag? Oh, it's not in the budget. I'm not really, I'm not into shakes like that. So, the excuses come. So you really have to, be a friend, be encouraging, provide value through your, general Facebook page or through your like page, whatever you call it. But you really have to kind of like learn how to, if people are asking for your help, but they're asking for more than what you're worth, you have to kind of be able to say, okay, hey, if you really want to make the investment, this is what you need to do. If you're not ready, that's fine. Feel free to continue to check in with my like page. I post tons of, inspirational stuff there, motivation, recipes, things like that. And just really, make sure that people understand that you value yourself and that you're setting those boundaries so you're not overextending yourself. And they're taking up the time that someone who's ready to invest in their health is actually willing to, make that investment. So you just want to be able to differentiate between the two. So that's basically all I have. I hope that all made sense. I was kind of jumping around with my notes, but Dorian, I didn't know if you wanted to piggyback on anything I said or if you wanted to just jump into your topics.
Well, I'll just jump in, but I learned a lot. So thanks for for the tips, because I need to listen to this over again and take some notes. Yeah, especially about what you were talking about, thinking of it like your restaurant business,
mm-hmm.
that you make per hour. Like, I never thought about it that way. So good stuff. So the three things that I have three things that I want to talk about. Power hour, your business hours, just like Darah was talking about, and also what I call mom cracks, or what another coach, a friend of ours, calls mom cracks, which is basically the free time you have throughout the day. Since I am a work-at-home mom as well as a wife, I can relate to a lot of the things that Darah was saying. So I just want to talk about what the difference is between your power hour and your business hours. So for me, power hour is something that I do Monday through Friday. And for me, it's in the middle of the day when my daughter is taking her nap, and it's non-negotiable. So it's something that, if I won't get distracted. So if somebody calls, I won't answer the phone. It's something that for that 1 hour, it's all about the business. And I am doing, I'm doing all of the things that the main tasks that I need to do for the day. So those tasks are inviting. So I'm either creating an event and inviting people to that event. I'm following up with people. So people who I have contacted about my challenge group, either they responded or they haven't responded, I'm following up with them. I'm also checking in with those who are in my current challenge group. And if all of that is done, then that's when I start to do my posts for the day. Like post something motivational, or my workout, a picture from my workout, or post-workout pic, or a video that I took of me doing my workout. But those are the types of things that I do during my power hour. So it's business only. Now the difference with business hours, I don't really technically set business hours, but generally I have my business hours towards the end of the day, in the evening after my kids go to sleep. And during my business hours is when I'm contacting people through email or phone, mainly phone. A lot of people who work and have kids, the evening is the best time for them, and it's the best time for me. So I'm setting up a lot of calls in the evening. So those are what I consider my business hours. I also check in with challengers. Sometimes they need a phone call as well. So those types of things I do in the evening. I want to say that one of the differences between the power hour and my business hours, power hour, like I said, is non-negotiable. It's generally in the middle of the day when my daughter is napping. So it depends on when she goes down for her nap. But when she's down, I'm on the clock for that hour. The business hour, like I said, just in the evening, but that can be flexible. So some people say, well, I'm free for a call at 1 o'clock in the morning. That's fine. So then that becomes my business hour. It's a little bit more flexible. And that's the good thing about being, having your own business and being able to do things throughout the day. Now, the mom cracks, or free time, that's generally when I am responding to people, because like I said, I'm inviting people during my power hour. Sometimes I do a blitz, which means I'm contacting 60 to 100 people in an hour, and then I'll get a lot of responses. So, and they come, all throughout the day. So if I have time, I will respond in my free time. If I don't, I will respond, like I said, in my during my business hours or my power hour. So, yeah. I don't know. I think that's pretty much it as far as all of this stuff. I don't have a lot to say about it, but I just want to make sure you know that there's three things as far as my day. There's your power hour, which is not negotiable.
Mm-hmm.
There are your business hours, which are more flexible. I'm generally making calls during that time. And then there are the mom crafts, which is basically the free time you have throughout the day. Sometimes I am waiting for my child at their taekwondo class and I have a couple of minutes, so I'll just run out to the car and I'll do a little responding to people or whatever. Yeah, so that's pretty much all of that I have.
Awesome. That was really helpful for me because sometimes I think I try to squeeze, like when I do a power hour, which it's not always hours, sometimes it's more than that. I think I try to squeeze everything in that hour.
Yeah.
But like if I don't get it all done, I feel like, oh shoot, like I'm messed up or whatever. But I never thought of in making them two separate things. Like your power hour or just for those things that you said. Actually, I would probably want to do the exact same things.
Yeah.
And then your business hours are the things that you flex.
Right.
I've been kind of like trying to do them both at one time. So that was really awesome.
Yeah, it's great to separate them because I find that I get more done when I am focused on the main tasks for the day, the inviting, the following up, checking in with my current challengers. I consider that very important because, you know, you get people who get the challenge packs and they get in your group and then they don't hear from you, you know, but no.
Right, right.
I always try to contact them and make sure they're doing what they need to do and reaching the goals that they set for themselves. But yeah, those are like the most important tasks every day.
Now, I had another question. So when you do your inviting and you try to invite a lot of people, you said 60 to 100, right?
During a blitz. I don't do
during a blitz.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Got it. And so all your follow-ups then, they're not done during the power hour. Those are during the business hours, correct?
Or they're doing my business hours.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Or my free time.
Right.
Or after, like, immediately following that hour of my blitz, if I have time, I will sit there and I will respond to everybody who, you know, is interested or commented or whatever.
Right.
So like I said, that 1 hour, usually my power hour is, like you said, it's longer than an hour, but I make sure that 1 hour I'm focused and I'm doing three things.
Right.
You know, inviting, following up, and checking in with my current challengers. Yeah. But like I said, my daughter, she naps about 2 hours, so I'll use that other hour to, you know, follow up with people and to respond.
Awesome. Oh, another thing I thought of while you were talking, a mistake that I made. You notice I make a lot of mistakes. A mistake that I made that I learned from. I used to, when I first started trying to stick to just three things, I found myself feeling like I wasn't doing enough. And I think part of that came from like, okay, you have the time, why not do 3 when you can do 30? Or I was always looking to other coaches to try to establish what I was supposed to be doing. So it's very important you should always look to your other coaches in your team to kind of get ideas, to get inspiration and things like that. But you really do have to run your own race. I think Deb said that one time, run your own race. And I had to learn that the hard way, because what works for one coach may not, everything we even said tonight, like that might necessarily work for you or it might not, but you have to find the thing that works for yourself. So take everything with a grain of salt, like trial and error. If it doesn't work, don't like keep running up against the wall trying to do it, wondering why it doesn't work. Do what works for you. And so I noticed that it's not so much the doing the task, it's staying consistent. So, okay, once I started doing just trying to stick to 3, I'm like, oh, that's not good enough. But then I realized it's not that it's not good enough, it's that my consistency wasn't good enough. So I said, okay, when you're consistent with your 3, you multiply that by 7 days, that's 21 people. Yeah. That's so 42. And, you know, so it compounds over time. So by the end of the month, you will have worked with or potentially reached out to, or, whatever my 3 is, if it's adding 3 people to my network, if it's inviting 3 people to a challenge group, whatever that is, even though it doesn't seem like much, like that's what I can do. That's what's doable for me every single day without fail. So if I'm consistent with that, it still yields a good return for me. Now for somebody else, they may need to do more or may have time to do more, and that's what they should do. So that just came to my mind when you were talking about that. Like I really did feel like, okay, this is like nothing, but it's my inconsistency that I had to get tightened up. Like tighten up your consistency, and that 3 is going to turn into a lot.
Yeah, that is so true. I'm glad you said that. That's so true.
Yeah.
Like you said, what worked for somebody is not going to work for someone else. Like we all are living our own lives. I am a work at home mom. You have a part-time job. So what you do is going to be different, or how you spend your time is going to be different.
Right.
So some people are working full-time, so yeah, I'm glad you did say that.
Yeah. Well, I guess we can wrap things up. Hopefully this worked out great for everybody. Hopefully you learned some things. This is recorded, and so I guess whenever Allison uploads them to the training group, obviously if you guys have questions about anything we talked about, or if you wanted to know more stuff in detail, we tried to keep it short. Just reach out to us. But that's all we have. So
Yes.
see ya.
Bye, everyone.